Hello, everybody! Welcome to Beyond the Reel, brought to you by Devil May Care Productions live on E360 TV. Today, we're going to have a very special guest with us, a personal friend of mine. We've done some stuff together. Ryan Chrissy with Quest of the Muscle Nerd. He is, in fact, Superman. Don't let the glasses fool you. He is Superman. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Now, why are you giving away my identity there, Jonathan?
Well, you gave away mine last time. Yes, we have worked together as Batman and Superman, respectively.
Yep.
We had some fun with those. But Superman isn't the only superhero you're playing.
That's correct. I get to play a brand new superhero of Muscle Nerd's creation called Alcor. In a series that we're going to be doing called Starquake: The Chronicles of Alcor. So I get to be the main superhero. Every child's dream, right?
Well, I don't know if it's every child's dream, but it was certainly one of mine. Oh. I knew I couldn't pull off Superman. I just don't have the dark enough hair. But Batman, I can wear a mask now. Let me tell you.
You can get away with a lot with a mask. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, you actually developed the character yourself and did the designs yourself, right?
Well, I did for the most part. Jerry, who is the owner of Muscle Nerds, he came to me a few years ago, and he was just like, hey, I got an idea for a superhero, kind of just average Joe, gets endowed with these stellar powers, and I want him to have this really cool transformation. So the first drawings of him, it was a older, probably like late 40s, early 50s gentleman construction worker who, kind of like the old school Thor, would transform into this bigger superhero or Shazam. And the more that we worked on it, he started writing the character for me, since he is the writer or co-writer of the show. I'm helping him write. So he developed the character for me, and then I started to design him based off of my features and what I kind of envisioned for the character.
Excellent. Now, for those of you who saw the thumbnail that we created for this video, that is the Alcor costume with the oranges and the gold, and it's a very warm feeling superhero. Does that have any reflection on his powers, or is that just a color scheme that we wanted to go with?
It kind of does have an influence on his powers. Alcor, most of the characters are based off of star names. So Alcor is one of the stars in the Big Dipper, and it's commonly known as the Forgotten Star, but it is one of the more brighter ones. So it is a powerful type thing, and we wanted to stay away from your primaries, your reds, your blues, but I did sneak in the red in there. It's kind of a wine red is what I'm going with.
Yeah.
I wanted the bronze, the orange, kind of something warm to go with, because his powers are energy based. His hands will glow, his eyes will glow, and things will happen like that.
But kind of like Starlight from The Boys, where her eyes and hands glow. Do you do any kind of photon blasts or anything?
I will have some energy blasts in my
repertoire of tricks.
What's that?
In your repertoire of tricks?
Yes. In my human form, I'll be able to access only one power at a time. I don't want them to be too OP. That'd be, it wouldn't be fun. So I can't access one power at a time. I'd be able to see auras of beings around me and almost read power levels, kind of like a Dragon Ball Z-ish type thing. It's over 9,000, So, but yeah.
Yeah. And you recently released a behind the scenes with you doing some of the casting yourself for some of the characters.
Yes. Quest of the Muscle Nerd is doing the behind the scenes documentary. They have their first documentary of the Muscle Nerd Showdown from a couple years ago at Dragon Con, and I was at a couple scenes in there. But yeah, they're filming all the behind the scenes for the Starquake series. We just did the Muscle Nerd showcase this 2 weekends ago now, where we were supposed to have this bodybuilding for cosplay competition at Dragon Con, but due to COVID, that all went
Yeah.
away. So we wanted to highlight everybody who worked so hard on their physique and their costumes. They came down. We had a photo shoot and filming, and then they also debuted my Alcor costume and Jerry's Akinar costume for
Now,
the behind.
Akinar is the mentor for Alcor, right?
Right. Think of kind of like an Obi-Wan to my Luke Skywalker. He is a celestial being, so his character is the embodiment of all things good. And then we have a character named Romulus, which will be played by Talon Warburton, who's pretty much the devil, or the all the negative energy in the universe. So you've got your light, your dark, and then you've got me as the main character who gets these powers, who will be tempted by both dark and light. But then there's also other heroes that also get hit with this radiation. And I hesitate to use the word heroes because some of them will turn to the quote dark side and be
Well,
villains.
we'll just call it character arc.
There you go. Yeah.
So, I titled this episode Muscle and Magic. So let's talk a little bit about you as a competitive bodybuilder.
Okay.
How on earth did you decide one day to wake up and go, you know what? I want to lift stuff.
I pick things up and put them down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, where did that come from? Yeah.
Well, I've always been interested in bodybuilding. Growing up as a kid born in the 80s, your action heroes, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Ferrigno, most of these guys were all jacked. And so, and as a comic book fan, you watch, you read these superheroes and you're like, I want to look like that guy. And of course, being a skinny kid who had a lot of health issues growing up, I was like, there's no way. So fast forward till when I'm 30 and I'm overweight, out of shape, and not in a really good place in my life. And a buddy of mine, also named Jonathan, who just did his bodybuilding journey, I had reached out to him for advice. And I was like, hey, man, I really want to do this. He's like, yeah, you're kind of let yourself go. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, he gave me.
It's nice to have that reassuring, honest hand.
Well, sometimes those are the friends you can trust when they're blatantly honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just like, I'll help you get in shape. And so in a matter of 3 months, I went from 260 down to 195 pounds. Just on diet and exercise. I looked okay, but my face was really gaunt, and I'd lost the weight way too quickly. But I stepped on stage anyway, and I was like, I love this. The process sucked. It was grueling. I didn't get a lot of sleep, but I was like, this is amazing. And so at the age of 30, I was like, I'm gonna compete. This is what I'm gonna do now, and I haven't looked back. I've done 3 shows. I've placed in my second show. I placed second place in every category that I was in.
Nice.
Yeah, I was very surprised. And so I'm planning on doing another show either the end of this year or beginning of next year.
Yeah, well, with this year being all kind of monkeyed up with the global pandemic and stuff, have there been any online shows or anything that you've been able to take part in? Or because I know some conventions have gone online. How does that work with the bodybuilding circuits?
Bodybuilding circuits, they canceled a lot of shows. They didn't do anything online. When they started to do shows again, it was just for the competitors and one guest, so a family member.
Yeah.
They definitely closed it off to the public. People have been wearing masks on stage when they're around other competitors or backstage. So I've been keeping up with the circuit. I haven't actually been able to go and compete, but I've got a lot of friends who have. And it's definitely a different beast now that COVID has happened. But it looks like it's starting to go back to somewhat normal.
Excellent. And that's your bodybuilding journey is what got you in touch with Muscle Nerds to begin with.
Correct. So when I started to do my first competition, Jonathan also knew that I was an artist, and so Muscle Nerds was looking for an artist, and so he had given them my email, and they reached out to me, and I did some artwork for them, and we went back and forth, and then they started sponsoring some of my shows, and there you go. It's now 5 years later, we're getting ready to put out a web series, so it's really cool.
Fantastic. So that's how you became, involved in Muscle Nerds, your bodybuilding journey. Now, I always remember one of the events we did with me as Batman, you as Superman, and we both had a similar reaction based on our suits.
Yes.
Someone came up to me and put their hand on my suit and was like, oh my goodness, that's armor.
Yes.
Yes. And then they walk up to you and go, why do you wear a muscle suit? Oh, that's you.
Yeah, that was very. I mean, it's a humbling experience because it's like, oh, people think it's a muscle suit, and it's nice to know that. Oh yeah, no, it's really me. But then when they actually put their hand on it, it's like, oh, it's like, yeah, that's a little. First, it's weird, but it's like, yeah, no, it's me. It's all me.
I know there's one time I was doing an event as Batman, and I was stood there, doing the dark brooding, I'm Batman. And this little old lady came up and grabbed my butt.
Yep.
And when I looked at her and said, thank you, she went, oh, good, I thought you were a dummy. Like, well, now you know better.
Yeah.
And she slid her hand back in. I'm like, really?
Leads you to question, if she thought you were a dummy, why was she grabbing a dummy's behind?
Well, you know that Madame Tussauds wax museum, they had to put the Kylie Minogue wax figure behind a barrier because people kept rubbing its butt.
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, they had to remake it because people had rubbed a spot so much it had melted that one spot.
Oh, geez.
Got a nice curved butt except for this one plane. So I don't understand why, but I am aware of the practice.
Okay.
So let's talk about bringing the characters to life.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we've done, obviously with Batman and Superman, there's a lot of history for those characters. There's a lot to pull on, and there's a lot of personality involved.
Mm-hmm.
Being 6'2", 250 pounds, and being stupidly intelligent, Batman is a logical choice for me.
Oh, there you go.
Being as tall as you are, I can't remember exactly.
6 foot.
Yeah, being 6 foot, being built like a brick shed, and when you put spandex on, it only flattens out some of the curve,
Some of it, yeah. I mean, you do.
Yes.
It's definitely a different beast wearing spandex.
Well, as we were talking earlier, real men wear spandex.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So those are characters that we can relate to as individuals.
Right.
Two of the characters I perform amazingly, especially with the film I did, the Batman Never Dies, was Batman and Joker.
Right.
I do both of them.
Right.
And it's a hilarious flip to see that, especially in my film when Joker becomes Batman.
Oh, yeah.
And argues with himself as both Batman and Joker.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing that concept to life, there was a lot to work with. With Alcor, with Raphael from The Fallen, with Detective Dark from Dark Detective. Mm-hmm. These are characters we are building ourselves from the ground.
Right.
Let me know your process for what went into building Alcor and his personalities and his traits, and how you went from concept to now you're in a suit in front of a camera.
Okay. Well, for me, it was a little bit easier since the character was kind of written for me. There's a lot of elements in there that touch on my personal life. And so for me, I'm able to really just get into my own mind to get into this character. There's a scene, it's a throwaway scene. I don't even think we're going to use it, but there was a monologue scene that I had written just to when they actually had me screen test for the character, because they were a little unsure if I can act, because I'd never acted before. And so I wrote a monologue of just what it feels like to have power. And it was kind of like now, it's like I turned on the webcam and it's like I'm talking to a friend. And I was like, do I even really want this? There are so many more people more deserving, why me? All that type of stuff. How do you live a normal life? Not like the comics. You can't just up and leave your job.
Yeah.
You can't, you'll be homeless within a week. No job's going to keep you. So I got to really just play on those things. What really would it be like if I myself suddenly got bestowed with all this power? Would I be the hero? Would I use it for personal gain? Would I just hide it and just not use it? It was very interesting to get into this character's head, and for me, it helped me build upon Alcor's character and who he is as a person.
Wonderful. That's great insight. Because there has to be a certain amount of realism for audiences to connect with a character.
Right.
And if it's something you already have experience with, it makes it so much easier for you to connect with the character.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something the other day on an actor's it's one of the film blogs I'm on. This guy just posts like one sentence of, I guess, sage type knowledge. Half of them are nonsense. But this one he put is, when you portray a character, don't think how how you would portray the character. Think how the character would portray themselves.
Right.
Like, well, that's basic. When you're acting, you're not you acting like someone else. You're someone else at that moment.
Right.
And that's what always kills me, especially with method acting for characters.
Mm-hmm.
Some characters that you get cast for, there's nothing out there that you can copy. There's nothing out there that you can go out and say, this is what they do, let me do it.
Right.
I know it's a gag sketch they did, but Ricky Gervais and Ian McKellen did a really good example of that. Have you seen that on YouTube?
I don't think I have, no.
Ricky Gervais comes up and Ian McKellen's there, so you want to be an actor? He goes, well, yeah, I'm actually pretty good at it. He said, no, you're not. I am Sir Ian McKellen. You are here to learn how to acting. So let me tell you my method. It says, I pretend to be something I'm not. Yeah, that's acting. Okay, you're confused. I can see that. Let me. Because when Peter Jackson called me from New Zealand and said, Sir Ian, I want you to be a wizard, I said to him, you do realize I'm not, in fact, a wizard. To which he replied, yes, but I want you to pretend to be a wizard. And I said, that is something I can do.
There you go.
There's a whole skit about this conversation and pretending to be a wizard. And Ricky Gervais is looking confused as snot, and Ian McKellen's like, you're still confused. He goes, no, it's not he's confused about acting. He's confused why Sir Ian is just going on and on.
Right.
But bringing characters like that to life, things like that. Typecasting is a thing. It really is.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we've known each other professionally and personally for a while now.
Right.
I get cast as the villain a lot.
Surprisingly.
I know, right? It's not just because I'm English.
There you go. I was about to say, it's the accent. And I'm sure if I put myself out there to be casted, I'd be casted as the dumb jock. I've got muscles and I'm tall with dark hair. Cool. He's the jock, the jerk, the bully, that's just what I would be. It's our job to break that mold.
Yes. One of the first things I do when I teach film and acting is you got to train your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Audiences have a set mindset. This is how things are supposed to go. During your film, during your series, you have to train them out of that mindset and into the mindset you are trying to portray.
Right.
So You're a perfect example of that, and the whole Muscle Nerd Company is a good example of that. Because you watch any film produced in the last 30 years, nerds are gangly, thin, thick-rimmed glasses. You've got that one.
Well, I don't need them, but
put them back on, Superman. You're Clark Kent right now. So you've got that whole nerds are supposed to be that hunched over, timid, I know everything kind of nerd. And then you got the jock who is the bodybuilder, the muscle, the intimidation factor. Mm. And the two never get combined.
No.
Ever. You never see a nerdy jock.
Well, you don't, because that doesn't fit the narrative.
Exactly.
And that's why Muscle Nerds was created, from what I understand from talking with the owner, is just because you have muscles doesn't mean you can't be a nerd. Yeah. For an example, I was a skinny, bony kid growing up, didn't have a lot of muscle. I didn't put the muscle on until I was 30. I was still in the gym, but I didn't put the muscle on. I read comic books. I was a Saturday morning cartoons kid. I'd dressed up in, my Superman, onesie, for God knows how long. I'm sure my mom could tell you, but
I still have a Batman onesie.
Well, you do, yes, and I still have a Superman onesie, but it's a little bit it's upgraded now. Come on, now we have more money.
More money and still the same amount of sense.
There you go. But yeah, for an example, we Muscle Nerds posted on a nerd Facebook page. And they were like, take a look at all this stuff. And a guy went off. He's like, those aren't nerds. Those are the jocks that beat me up in school. They're just, now that it's popular, they want to be nerds. And it's like, you are doing the same stuff that those bullies did to you back in school.
Yeah.
In the reverse. It's like, no, anybody can be a nerd, whether it's about comics, whether it's about, reading, electronics. There's all different types of nerds, but the stereotype is the skinny kid who gets beat up with the thick glasses and, like you said, knows everything about everything. It's like, oh, excuse me, that's wrong. What you meant to say was, no, anybody can be a nerd. Doesn't matter if you have muscles or not.
Yeah, and that's where I was excited when you first started telling me about Muscle Nerds and what they were doing with you and the stuff you were doing. And then recently when they came out with the, the Alcor and the web series and everything, I'm actually excited to see where that goes and see how many molds that'll actually break. How many people will come out and go, yeah, actually I am a nerd, or yeah, I got the muscles, but I also like comics.
Yeah. Well, we've got,
go ahead.
I don't know if you saw, on the Muscle Nerd YouTube page, we had filmed this past, it's not this past weekend, the weekend before, an IFBB pro, a pro bodybuilder as Dr. Manhattan doing a posing routine. I
saw that.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to do the body paint on him, and Brian Martinez is going to be part of the Starquake series as a character. He's a nerd, but he's a pro bodybuilder. The man's huge.
And again, that comes back to, look at Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
The man plays D&D religiously.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. He knew more about The Witcher than most of the people who played the games.
Yeah, almost missed out on being Superman because he was playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a nerd.
So let's get back into building our characters and how we do it. So we talked about Alcor. We talked about bringing some of you into it.
Yes.
And we are working together right now on a Superman Kingdom Come fan film.
I am very excited about that.
As am I, because I'm taking the characters in a way that's never been seen.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've sent you the proof of the first act,
right?
And it's something that's not been seen even in the comics. We're taking all of this lore, all of this great conceptual stuff, and just twisting it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it all came about from that one cell in the Kingdom Come comic book, where Diana goes to the fortress and he's replicated his farm in Kansas.
Yeah.
And it's just, there he is in a shirt. Diana has a word with him. The entire film that we are making and writing is based on that one cell. And what would happen if Superman did turn his back on everything, like completely?
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's a scary thing to think about if you were, living in that world. Is you've got this, Messiah character who's going to save everybody, and then all of a sudden, gone. Everybody's on their own.
Yep.
So, I am extremely looking forward to playing the part. To me, it's a dream come true to play Superman in any form, whether it's dressing up for an event with you, going to visit kids, or just walking around the house. I mean,
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I've sat down in my bat armor a few times and just sat there going, "Yep." I tell people about the time Artemis was firing the bow at me and you, and it bounced off you and then got stuck in the plates of my armor.
That was great. You couldn't have scripted that better.
And we actually have the video on the YouTube channel. It's just think. And first I knew about it was when my wife started laughing. And I looked down and there's this arrow sticking out of my chest. I'm like,
Hold it right out, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was only, it was like a 10-pound bow. It didn't have much power to it.
No, but it had enough to go through, stick in your armor, so.
Yeah. But, some of the events, some of the things, you just have to be in the moment when you do these characters. You have to.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a lot of people when they portray the characters, whether it's for a birthday party or whatnot, you get, like you said, you get caught up in pretending to be that character. And for me, I notice a personality shift as soon as I put on the cape. For me, it's like, okay, I go back to thinking when I was a kid, I was like, all right, if I saw Superman, how would I want him to act? No cursing, I mean, and that goes without saying. You're in front of a bunch of kids or even adults. You're supposed to be portraying a character who is the embodiment of good.
Yes.
You can't just go out there and start, dropping F-bombs or saying vulgar stuff. That's just, people will look at that like, that's just wrong. You can't do that. You're not Deadpool.
And let's not get started on Deadpool. People take that way too far. I can do anything I want. It's Deadpool. There are still rules to Deadpool stuff.
There is. And I mean, it's
even though he breaks a lot of walls and a lot of rote, there's still a formula for why Deadpool works and how Deadpool works.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's kind of like the whole Halloween thing where people are like, oh, it's an excuse for me to act stupid, or, no, just throwing on a Deadpool costume doesn't give you the right to walk around a convention smacking girls on the behind and, saying whatever you wish. That's not Deadpool. That's just you being a jerk.
Yeah. So, again, bringing characters to life, you have to take into consideration certain formulas. The type of character, what their universe allows. That's something important as well.
Right. I can't play Batman the same way I play Superman.
No.
It wouldn't work.
No, I mean, I'm very good at dark and brooding.
You are. You do a very good job. I mean, I think I may have seen you crack a smile once or twice.
And that was that one little girl that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that was the one little girl.
That one I couldn't help.
But yeah, I mean, otherwise you were just stone cold, just Dark Knight, and it worked. It worked really well.
But let's go ahead and tell that story because I love that story.
That was a great story.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Batman v Superman, the premiere of it. Me and Ryan were there as Batman and Superman, and we were in the lobby of the theater. Everyone's having a great time. There's, oh, look, it's Batman and Superman. This little girl comes running up and hugs Superman, and then her mom comes running up and hugs Superman, and the little girl comes running up, so I kneel down and she hugs Batman, and she's like, it's my birthday! And of course, I'm Batman. I'm like, watching a movie? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, are you watching Zorro? And of course, the parents are going behind this little girl. Ryan's there going,
I'm just like, oh no.
and this little girl's all excited, and I'm just looking her dead in the face. I'm like, you like your parents? She's like, yeah. I saw a movie on my 8th birthday. Now I'm Batman. And she's like, okay. She's, how do you feel about red and yellow? And a mum comes up and goes, okay, honey, time to leave Batman alone. And at that point, as she turned around, I'm like,
yep. And that was the only time you broke character. That was it.
yeah.
But I mean, it was worth it. It was so worth it.
It was. Because that little girl will always remember her 8th birthday. She saw Batman in the movie theater and he spoke to her.
Yep.
And her parents will always remember not to take her to the movies on her birthday ever again. No, but some of the original characters that we've created for some of our web shows, I know some of the stuff I've talked to you in the past about getting you involved, having you in a lot of our stuff, based purely on the character I write. And as I'm writing it, I'm like, who would make a good version of this? Ryan would, or Dennis would, Dennis who plays the Penguin,
Yeah.
Right now, 4 days a week, I'm teaching him ninjutsu.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, he wants to lose some weight and get back in shape, It's another moment of let's see what we can do for him.
Right.
So 4 days a week, we work out, we do some martial arts, and I showed him the film Equilibrium, and he really fell in love with the gun kata.
Okay.
So I'm like, if we can get you down so you're flexible enough, if you can move enough, I'll put a couple of guns in your hand and we can do this. And that's the whole premise behind his character in The Fallen. Captain Mal, he's a brown coat. He's a Firefly fan. So his character has a brown coat, and it's called Captain Mal.
There you go.
Yeah. But the whole concept of this character is he is one of the original Argonauts. He was cursed by Medea to live forever. Die and come back and die and come back and die and come back, but always retaining his memories of every life. So after thousands of years of reincarnation, he's a little crazy.
As anybody would be.
Yeah, and he doesn't care about anything. But even though he's a big fluffy guy, he's one hell of a fighter.
Yeah.
So that's the whole premise of his character. And it was all based on he wanted to get in shape and he loved the gun kata. I'm like, well, let me write you a character that makes sense.
There you go.
My character, I don't write my own characters.
Really?
I never write my own characters. I'm terrible at writing my own characters.
So who writes your character then?
My wife. And Dennis.
Okay.
So.
Well, I mean, who better to have the perspective
Yeah.
of your wife, to look at you and be like, this is how you would do it, or this is how I think you would play it.
And that's how she got me into the show Lucifer.
Okay.
She binged the first 4 episodes on Netflix and called me up and said, honey, you need to see the show. I'm like, why? It's because it's you. Like, watch me. She says, Lucifer, it's you. It says, I know my nickname is the devil, but yeah, there's more to it than just what. So she sat me down and we watched the show. And there's a bit where he picks up the little girl's doll. And as soon as he picks it up, I'm like, oh God, please play fetch. Please play fetch. And he throws the doll and goes, fetch. Was it too complicated? And I'm like, oh shit, you're right.
There you go.
So we're watching the show and I am saying what I would say in that situation before Lucifer comes out with it. And it's exactly the same lines. I'm like, oh shit. So when she writes my characters, a lot of them have a similar personality to Lucifer because that's just me.
And that's the best way for you to do it, is to be you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, actors are usually have some kind of multiple personality syndrome that they're just not aware of. Yeah.
I'm aware of mine.
Who are you today?
Ex- Right? I mean, do I feel like the superhero today or the mild mannered reporter?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, I mean, you could ask my wife. We'll watch a show, and this goes back to when I was a little kid. My parents could tell you any show that I watched, I became that character. If I watched Rambo, I was Rambo. If I was Rocky, I was Rocky. If I was Superman, Superman, and just kept going on. And so we'll watch something now. Um, as an example, The Witcher. We watched The Witcher,
Yep.
and then out of nowhere, like my voice will get deeper, and I'll start, talking a little bit different. And she's just like, "You're doing it again," or I'll slip into the voices that I do, and like Patrick Warburton will come out, and this one will come out, and she's just like, "Really, you doing it again?"
Yeah.
And
Now you were saying Patrick Warburton's son is actually in the Alcor series.
yes, he'll be playing the villain Romulus. Um,
Excellent.
yes, and if you watch, if you go to the YouTube channel and see the first episode of the behind the scenes, the making of Starquake, Talon is heavily featured in it, and yeah, he's a really great guy. Real pleasure to work with. Knows a lot about the industry, of course, and in his own right. Just I mean, forget his dad. He's a well versed actor and voice actor. He did voice acting for the Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon.
Hmm.
Uh, so, and the new remake of Final Fantasy VII. So he was
Yeah.
doing that. Um, so yeah, I mean, just a pleasure to work with and a really great guy, really down to earth. Um,
And that also helps when you're trying to build characters, is having people that are easy to work with, people that know what they're good at, know what they need to do, and it's just so easy to feed off each other when you have someone that you can do that with.
oh, for sure. I mean, one of the funniest things I ever listened to was the behind the scenes on Rocky, where um, Carl Weathers is talking about when he first read the script opposite of Stallone, and they're at the table reading. He's reading for it, and he's like, "If you get me a better actor, to read it off of, I could do a much better job." And Sly's just sitting there with a smirk on his face. And later, of course, he finds out, okay, this guy wrote it, he's directing it, and he's starring in
Yeah.
it. Oh God! But that's why Stallone cast him, because he was like, "Yeah, you're free. You speak your mind. You're a hot shot. I like it."
Well, that reminds me of the story about how Fresh Prince of Bel Air, Uncle Phil got the job.
I haven't heard that
Oh,
story.
oh, well, they were doing the casting, and Will Smith's there, feet on the desk, cap on, and I can never remember his name, but Uncle Phil walks in. There's like fifth one of the day, walks up, smacks Will Smith's feet off the desk, and goes, "Put your feet down, boy. We're expecting professional people." And he goes, "You're hired."
I like it.
It just knocks his feet off the desk and tells him to straighten himself up because this is a
Yeah,
professional audition. No idea that that's who he was auditioning with.
right.
And he's like, "You're hired." What? You are hired. You are Uncle Phil.
There you go. Sometimes it pays just to be yourself.
Yeah. I got a couple of roles like that. Just walk up to somewhere and someone says something and I answer with my usual smart ass English sarcasm and like, "Can you be in my show?"
There you go.
Yes. What is it you need me to do? Just speak.
I'll tell you, man, I have been extremely blessed to just be even considered, one, to be considered for the role, and then to be part of Muscle Nerds. If you went back 5 years ago and told me that, hey, all this was going to happen, I would have looked at you like you had four heads. But luckily, my faith has taken me in places I never thought it would, and I yeah, I'm at a loss. That's just how much God has blessed me and my family, and it's like, this is fantastic. I'll never not be grateful for any opportunity. I mean, heck, the opportunity to work with you on that Kingdom Come project, I'm ecstatic for. I cannot wait.
Oh yeah. And it's, I'm excited writing it. And that makes a huge thing, and that's one of the reasons that I bought the new camera that's coming tomorrow, which I am stupidly excited for. I mean, ridiculously excited.
Sure, you
And
bought a new camera just for that, right?
it's what I told my business partners.
Well, there you go. That's all that matters.
I got a Blackmagic 6K cinema camera coming.
That's
oh yeah, and it's great because it uses the Canon EF mounts, and what I use now is a bunch of Canons with EF lenses. So I already have lenses for it.
Oh wow! Good on Christmas.
Yeah, so it's exciting. It was supposed to arrive Friday, and I got a message today that I missed the delivery. I'm like, no, I took time off work on Friday to do this.
Oh man!
So I'm excited, but you in all of your muscly glory.
Yes.
in that costume that we are designing for it, because it's a custom designed costume as well.
Correct.
In 6K high definition.
Right. Now the costumes that you see in the pictures and that's going to be in the behind the scenes right now, they're just the concept suits. They're not even the final suits.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be some really high production stuff. The final suit is going to be textured and have a muscle suit similar to that from Batman v Superman. It's going to be really well defined. The muscle suit's going to look anatomically correct, so the muscles will be, they'll highlight everybody's strengths.
Yeah, and that's a question I was asked at one point when you did Nightwing, and you built the muscle suit to go under it. Someone asked me, why does a competitive bodybuilder, someone whose muscles have muscles,
Well,
so why do they need a muscle suit? And I had to explain it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you explain why someone who, with your physique and the physique of the Muscle Nerd guys, why you need a muscle suit under a spandex or stretchable costume.
Right. Well, no matter how ripped you get, a spandex suit is not going to suck in and contour to every single muscle. So let's say I am show ready. I've got 6-pack abs, veins popping everywhere. As soon as I throw on a spandex suit, it's going to flatten me out like a sausage casing. It's not going to vacuum seal around those muscles and show every contour, every crease. It's going to make you're still going to see that he's a built guy, but you're not going to be able to see the definition as well. So even someone like Henry Cavill, who got great shape for Superman, had a muscle suit, so it's kind of the nature of the beast, as an example, the reason why bodybuilders get so tan is when you stand under those stage lights, if you didn't have the tan, your muscles would wash out. You wouldn't be able to see any definition under those lights. So the darkening up of the skin will allow the judges to be able to see the muscles and all.
Now there's actually a pigmented oil or something that you put on as well, isn't there, that helps with that?
Yeah, so they actually spray tan you, and then they can throw on, depending on which company is doing the work behind the stage, they'll throw some oil or baby oil, or some people on their own will take Vaseline and just rub themselves down with Vaseline, just to give you that shine, to shine off of the muscles, give you that highlight, and then of course the tan hits those shades. But it's the same concept. You're just not going to be able to see it in a spandex suit. You wouldn't be able to see it on stage without the tan. It's that same concept. So you need, unfortunately, no matter how hard you work in a suit, you're going to need the muscle suit. Now, shirtless scenes, on the other hand, you just got to show up as ripped as possible.
Yeah, or if you're in a bathtub.
Right. But and that's kind of my curse, is I've got a in one of the teasers that we're going to shoot for the series, I have a shirtless scene, and so I don't even get the opportunity to be like, oh, I'm just wearing a muscle suit, I don't have to diet down that hard. It's like, no, I've got to come in completely shredded because it's me coming right out of the shower. Of course, I'll have pants on, but I'm shirtless. And then I go and I grab a shirt and throw it on. So unfortunately, I have to be like dialed in for this.
Well, that's not necessarily unfought. I mean, I know this because when you say dialed in, I
Mhm,
mean, the camera will pick up details that the human eye will not.
mhm.
So you don't necessarily have to be competition dialed in, where you do the whole dehydrate and the shred down to nothing. You know,
It kind of
you
depends.
don't have to.
You don't have to, no. But I mean, I'd be amiss if I didn't give it my best.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I loved about transitioning from theater to film is things that you have to do for theater to make it make sense.
Mhm.
In film, you don't because you're only working in a smaller frame, and the camera can pick up a lot more detail than an audience 20 feet away.
True.
So, same concept with coming out of the shower and looking ripped. As long as you are ripped, you don't have to be competition shred.
True. True, but I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to that.
It's like, this is my body, this is how it's going to look.
Right, well, I mean, if I'm going to be on camera, I might as well look the best I can.
Oh, just remember, they say the camera adds 10 pounds.
So come in 10 pounds lighter is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying if you go competition ready and then look and go, I thought I'd be better than that. You did. You did.
Yeah, true.
So we've gone over look. We've gone over some of the personality and how we create those. What are you doing to prepare yourself for dealing with enemies, dealing with friends, dealing with this whole, oh my God, now I am alcohol, I'm no longer quiet Ryan sitting on the bed going, hey man, how you doing?
Well, I mean, I'm still quiet, Ryan. I would love for this thing to take off and you know be gangbusters, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, I know him. He was on that thing." And
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm still me. I'm I really don't know what else to say except I'm me. I don't ever want to change. And I don't think I ever will. I've got a good wife to keep me humble, as well as a good family. I'll be like, you're getting a little bit too big for your britches. Stop it now. But
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
have that problem.
yeah.
I've always been an arrogant ass. Yeah.
Well, I
And
can be. I can.
yeah,
I can be. And
but
luckily, my wife is one to be like, hey, watch it. And I'm just like, yeah.
yeah.
I,
Oh,
I, I,
my wife loves every minute of it. I mean,
well,
she'll egg it on, and then she's like, "You did well, honey. What I do? What did I do? I was just being me. Exactly."
yeah. Luckily, I have the ability to let my mouth get me in trouble,
Yeah.
just because I am Italian, and so I kind of say what's on my mind sometimes when I shouldn't.
Now, are you Italian or are you American with Italian ancestry? There is a
Uh,
difference.
I'm American with Italian ancestry, but I'm literally my great grandparents came on over from the boat from Sicily.
Okay.
I mean, I could pinpoint, where we're from. I
Yeah.
always all my life. Um, but that being said, I grew up in a very Italian home and very Christian home, but it was very much a speak your mind. This is what's on your mind. You have to yell to be heard in the family. So I'm, very boisterous, and it tends to get me in a lot of trouble, or it did tend to get me in a lot of trouble. Um, Luckily, in my old age, I have learned to quiet that down a little bit. Um, but I'll tell you a quick story. I won't name the artist, but my dad and I went to a convention when I was younger. It was one of my first conventions, and one of the comic book artists I had looked up to, and I wanted to be a comic book artist. Um, I had met him at the show, and I gave him some of my work. I worked the whole weekend. I knew he was going to be there, so I worked really hard and I gave him my work and he just took it and kind of just looked down at me like, like, who are you, you stupid, like 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I never want, and to me, it was like, I never want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Never want to get to the point in life, whether it's with this show, whether it's with my art, whether it's with bodybuilding, what have you, that someone comes up to me and I'm like, oh, get away, you stupid kid. I don't want to talk to you. I never want that because it hurts so many young aspiring artists and bodybuilder. It's a
Yeah.
bad look, and I don't ever want to be that. And so for me, that right there keeps me grounded. I always look back at that and I'm like, I never want to do that. And so no matter where this goes, if it gets big, if it doesn't get big, I'm still just going to be me.
Excellent. Well, I know for me, one of the moments that made me smile is it was after one of the Charlotte Comic Cons.
Mhm.
We were sat having a meal, and two of the people that are big in the convention circuit down here, they're looking at me and we're talking, and the one's just looking and he's scratching his head, and he's like, "I recognize you." Like, yes, nope. Have you seen this? Nope. Have you seen this? Nope. Have you seen this? Nope. Okay, well, that's all I've done in this country. Have you seen this? That's it. That's where I know you. You got a cannonball in your chest. Like, yeah. He's like, I knew. Turned it was like, actually, I knew him. Yeah. So that was all kind of, like, hey, look at that. I did that like 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was the first thing I was in that was televised 20 years ago. And this guy recognized me like 2 years ago. And I'm like,
That's great, though.
yeah. I mean, I've gone to Dragon Con and someone's gone walking past and goes, "Are you Jonathan?" "Yes." "Do I know you?" "No, but I saw you in this." I'm like, "That's available? You've seen this?" It's a great feeling, but it's not one of those, go away, I don't want to talk to you. It's always a, wow, thanks, hey,
Yeah.
let's talk. It's like you wear a t-shirt with Thundercats on it and someone comes up and starts talking about Thundercats. Geek out about Thundercats. You wore
Yeah.
a t-shirt. It's an open invitation.
Oh, yeah.
If you,
My wife and I were in the mall a couple months ago, and I was wearing a Goku shirt. And the guy came up to me, and he's just like, "Oh my God, it's Goku! That's awesome!" Yeah, man.
yeah, but same idea as the conventions and the premieres and things like that. You're there. Yes, you are the professional. You are I did this. I'm now getting paid to be here and wave at you. But someone comes up and goes, "I love what you do. I want to be what you are. Here, look at my work. Look at the damn work."
Yeah, for sure.
I always remember when I was younger, I always wanted to be a paleontologist all my life. I
Okay.
wrote to the Natural History Museum of London when I was like 8 or 9. And I forgot about it. I forgot about it written that letter, but I was trying to figure out how to be and then about a year later, I got a letter in the mail addressed to me.
Mhm.
It was the nicest handwriting I've ever seen. I'm like, who's sending me letters? What?
Right.
Because I was moving into secondary school, so I was going to try and pick my career course.
Mhm.
And I opened it, and it's from the Natural History Museum of London. The curator of the museum wrote back to me personally and told me the educational path I would need to take to be a paleontologist.
That's fantastic.
That, to me, made my little dreams come true. I knew
Yeah.
exactly what I needed to do to be what I always wanted to be. And then when I was at university, on my degree course, I studied paleontology. I actually did the field work. I did exactly what I wanted to do. All of my life, I wanted to do this, and there I was doing it because someone encouraged me. Someone got back to me and said, "This is what you need."
There you go.
So I've always remembered that, and that's something when you brought that up with the guy that did it with you and was like, eh.
Yeah.
I've always got to encourage people because you don't know. That guy that you just turned down could become the next major thing, and you help put them there with a
Yeah.
single word or a single smile.
Well, I mean, it goes it just in general. You never know what kind word you can say to somebody.
Exactly.
I mean, it could make or break their day. It could be that kid who's going home, God forbid, to commit suicide, and you just saying a nice word to them changed everything.
Changes their whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that brings us towards the end of the show. So go ahead and do a plug for the Quest of the Muscle Nerds, for your individual stuff, things like that. Tell people where they can find that behind the scenes video we've been talking about.
Yeah. So YouTube, you go to YouTube and search Muscle Nerd or Quest of the Muscle Nerd 2. And you can see all the behind the scenes for the new Starquake series, as well as the Muscle Nerd Showcase. You can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Quest of the Muscle Nerd or Muscle Nerd. My personal page is Ryan_Boom Chrissy. And I post all about nerdy stuff, my bodybuilding stuff, as well as my personal life and my faith.
Beautiful. Thank you for joining me today, Ryan. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to find Devil May Care Productions on all social media, YouTube, everywhere. Just type in Devil May Care Productions and look for the winky smiling face. So thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan, once again, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, sir.
Night.
It was